Hey guys, Anime Guy here with more Reddit stories for you. Today we look at entitled people that will drive you crazy. The last one is God-level entitlement. Let's dive in. Entitled aunt gave my baby a piercing without asking. Yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. I, 26F, had my first baby girl 3 months ago. We've been really cautious about visitors, basic hygiene, no kissing, you know the drill. My aunt, my mom's sister, came to visit last weekend. She's always been overbearing. She kept talking about how cute my baby would look with earrings. I brushed it off and said, we're not doing piercings for a while. Maybe when she's older and can choose. Apparently no meant ask forgiveness, not permission. I went to take a shower while my mom and aunt watched the baby. When I came out, my daughter was crying, and I saw the tiniest glint of gold on her earlobe. My aunt proudly said, "Surprise! I used my friend's gun kit." She barely felt a thing. I lost it. I told her she had no right. My mom was horrified too. She had no idea this was going to happen. We took my daughter to urgent care just to make sure there was no infection. I called my aunt the next day and told her she's not allowed near us for the foreseeable future. She cried to my mom about how kids these days are so dramatic and that she was trying to bond with her niece. No. You violated my child's body without consent. That's not bonding. That's assault. Number 2. The bride wore red. My wife and I received a wedding invitation from an old shipmate earlier this year. I'd served with him in the Coast Guard and had stayed in touch over the decades, so let's just call him Chief and his fiancée Chiefette. I called Chief the next day and formally accepted for the two of us and sent the RSVP back, just to be uber formal. Then my wife and I marked our calendar, set aside funds for travel, and went back to normal living. 2 weeks later, Chief called with an odd request. He wanted my wife to wear her wedding gown to his wedding. Long story short, they'd found out that the Chiefette's mother intended to wear her wedding gown to her daughter's wedding and, instead of making a fight out of it, they were asking all the guests, well, the female guests, I have no idea what would have happened if I turned up on a wedding dress, to at least wear white, if not an actual wedding dress. My wife was delighted. She could still fit into her dress and, as she put it, when will I get another chance to wear the silly thing? So the date came, we showed up, me in a nice suit and my love in her dress, and walked into a room chock full of women in white. The plan was that we'd all walk into the chapel when the preacher was ready, but Chiefette wanted us all in this room when her mother showed up. I joined the chief outside the main doors and watched as his future mother-in-law exited her car in an explosion of white tulle. She was wearing something that would have suited a Disney princess, but marched up to us like a marine storming a beachfront, clearly expecting resistance if not rejection. Chief simply welcomed her warmly and held the door for her and his future father-in-law, who had the grace to look ashamed. She strutted into the room, nose in the air. Then froze, staring at 20 or so women all wearing white and most wearing gowns as fancy as hers. I don't know what Chief expected, but he seemed surprised at her meltdown. The woman started screaming at everyone, calling them out on how shameful they were to wear white to her daughter's wedding and how they all had to leave. Her husband quietly pointed out that she, herself, was wearing a wedding gown to her daughter's wedding. That's different, damn it. I'm her mother. When she discovered that the bride had specifically requested the women to wear white, she deflated like a punctured beach ball. Moments later, the music started, the doors opened, and we all entered the chapel. We had barely sat when the wedding march started, and Chiefette, wearing a stunning red and gold gown, walked in on the arm of her father. Her mother left almost immediately after the ceremony. Later, at the reception, I found out that Chiefette had based her revenge on posts she'd read on Reddit, so congratulations people, YA did good. Update, I called Chief and Chiefette answered. I let her know that I posted and she pulled up the post while we were on the phone. Good news is that she was delighted by the comments, but she is putting the kibosh on sharing any pictures. Apparently, she is trying to reconcile with her mom and various members of her family who believe she went too far and doesn't want to kick the hornet nest any harder than absolutely necessary. Number 3. Entitled aunt tried to correct my autistic son's behavior at Thanksgiving. My son, 7, is on the spectrum, and while he's verbal, he gets overstimulated in big gatherings. So during Thanksgiving dinner at my aunt's house, he had his tablet and headphones to help him cope. He wasn't bothering anyone. Cue my aunt, 60s, who suddenly says, loud enough for the table, he shouldn't be on screens during family time. You're spoiling him. I politely said, he's doing what helps him feel safe. This is a lot of noise for him. She scoffed, back in my day we didn't coddle bad behavior. What he needs is a good spanking. I stood up and said, back in your day, kids like my son were institutionalized or abused for being different. We're not doing that. She yelled at me for disrespecting my elders and said I was raising a brat. I packed up my son and left. My cousin texted me later saying the aunt cried after we left because no one defended her. Entitlement isn't just about being rude, it's assuming your outdated views are more valid than someone else's lived experience. Number 4. Entitled mom tried to reserve the baby name I've had picked since I was 12. I, 28F, am 8 months pregnant with my first child. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved the name Eliana. It's unique, feminine, and just always felt special to me. My friends and family have known this forever, even jokingly calling dibs on middle names when I was still in high school. Fast forward, my cousin, 29F, is also pregnant by surprise and recently announced she's having a girl too. At the baby shower last week, I mentioned that we've officially chosen Eliana as the name. She froze. In front of everyone, she goes, no, that's the name I'm using. I already told my mom and everyone at work. You can't use it. I said, I've had this name picked out since before you even graduated high school. You literally made fun of it in the past. She says, doesn't matter. I'm the first to say it now while we're both pregnant. It's mine. My aunt, her mom, then backed her up saying, just let her have this. You can always pick another name. No. I'm not picking another name for the baby I've waited years for just because my cousin impulsively called dibs. Entitlement level, naming rights thief. I told her she can use it too if she wants, but I'm not changing. If we both end up with daughters named Eliana, that's her hill to die on. Number 5. Dude stole my lunch for his kid and chaos ensued. Well, this is a first for me. I went to lunch at a local place known for their fried chicken sandwiches. I had to sit outside because the place was packed, but they have plenty of covered seating and some nice fans, so even though it was 95 degrees, it was tolerable. Anyway, I sit down and already know what I want to order, so even though the table service was slow due to them being super busy, I got my order in on the waiter's first pass. However, the table behind me was already occupied by this incredibly obnoxious couple and their teenage son. I could overhear them simultaneously arguing about what to order and also complaining about the slow service. I guess they were in another waiter's section though, because they were still waiting to order after the waiter left my table. They finally got someone to their table and ordered, but with complaints. Poor waiter. Less than 10 minutes later, here comes my food. Or, hell no, yelps the dad. That dude got here like 10 minutes after us and he gets his food first. At first I think he's complaining to the waiter, but no, these comments are directed at me. Hey! Hey asshole! Why come, yes, this is apparently a deocracy, and he literally said the word why come, you got your Sammy first. Hey? You hear me? I ignore, but this guy gets up and walks up behind me, then literally steals my plate from the table before I'd even taken a bite. You can wait, mother effer. My kid's hungry. To this point I haven't heard a word from this kid's mouth, so if he was hungry he was speaking only with his baleful puppy eyes. Eat it, says the dad. Okay, so here's the thing. This place does spicy chicken. They have like 7 levels of spice, and George likes his chicken spicy. I'd ordered the next to hottest option, which is a combination of Scotch bonnet and ghost pepper sauce, not pure ghost pepper. It's hot enough to make you cry, and as my kids say, I've burned off most of my taste buds. And this kid, at his a-hole dad's urging, chows down before I can even stand up and protest. Like before I can even stand up and say what the actual fudge, dickweed, this kid has taken a Cookie Monster bite out of a sandwich that is slathered in a -1000000 Scoville sauce. And the gagging is immediate. You know that frat party you went to your sophomore year where they were chugging jungle juice, and the sound formed the backyard 30 minutes in? Yeah. That. He's gagging, choking, then vomiting all over his dad. His mom is screaming. The people at the next table are jumping up. Plates are falling. A-hole dad is screaming at me, "What did you do to my son?" And I just start laughing. I'm standing there at my picnic table while this circus erupts around me. 2 waiters come running over. Dad is screaming. Kid is still wheezing and choking, mom is crying, one person at the next table over is literally crying with laughter, another looms like she's about to vomit. Laughing guy speaks up and steps between the dad and me, who looks like a real-life, human anger from inside out. We explain what happened to the manager who since showed up, as evidenced by the fact their order is just showing up. Anyway, they pack up their meals to go tell them they are not welcome back at this establishment, start cleaning up, and the manager takes me inside, gives me a replacement meal, a $50 gift card, and asks me to please not write a negative review, or press charges. So that happened. 2025, y'all. It's wild here. Number 6. Entitled Mom demanded I give her my late brother's service dog. My brother passed away 6 months ago. He was a veteran, and his service dog Max was trained for PTSD, mobility support, and seizures. Max is 6, incredibly well behaved, and still grieving. Since my brother passed, I've been caring for Maximum. I'm his legal successor according to my brother's will. Max is family now. Enter my cousin, 34F, who I haven't spoken to in over a year. She messaged me out of nowhere saying, "I heard you have a service dog. You don't need that. My son has anxiety and could use a therapy dog." I explained that Max isn't just a therapy dog. He's a trained service animal with years of specialized work, and legally, I'm his handler now. She replied, "So you're choosing a dog over a child's mental health?" Then she offered me $300 for him. $300? For a trained service dog who cost $20,000 plus to train and has been through hell and back with my brother. I said no. She showed up at my door the next day with her son. I didn't answer. She called me cruel. Said I was wasting Max's potential. I told her the only waste here was her audacity. Number 7. Entitled parent wants me to change plane seats because my face scared her kid. I, 24M, am visiting Boston for the week and just got off a 5-hour flight a few hours ago, and I'm still kind of shaken up and upset. For context, a few months ago I had a procedure called an orbital exenteration, you can search that up if you want, for an aggressive cancer that left me with what is basically a hole the size of a pool ball where my right eye used to be. I typically don't wear any facial coverings or prosthetics to cover it because of how recent this was and how I'm still attempting to come to terms with the fact that I'm basically missing the upper half of the right side of my face. Anyways, on this flight I picked a window seat like I always and settle in, and not long after a woman boards with her husband and her son who's around for 5 years old. Her husband has a seat in the row behind me and she and her son have the middle and aisle seats in my row. The moment her son saw me, he visibly recoils. I'm quite used to occasional glances and stares, and it doesn't bother me, but whenever I notice children looking scared of me, that always kind of hurts. I know kids don't have filters, I understand, but I was expecting his mother to just tell him to knock it off or something. Instead, she asked me, "Can you switch seats with my husband? My son's not exactly the most comfortable sitting next to you, I apologize. He's kind of scared here, so it would really help us out." I told her that no, I wouldn't change seats because I wanted my window seat, to which she asked me a few more times before giving up and saying something along the lines of, "Seriously? He's only a child, I just thought you might a little more sensitive." And that pissed me off. I am sensitive, I've been sensitive about my face since the day I got surgery, I've avoided photos, mirrors, and public settings all too often. But apparently I'm not sensitive enough for choosing my own comfort over a random child's. To be honest, for a while after that I had to hold in tears because my disfigurement embarrasses me, and oftentimes I'm so embarrassed I don't go out much, and this reminded me exactly why. I understand a child is a child and people will stare, but I just hate how she treated me as if I was doing something wrong by just existing. Anyways, I'm in Boston, so yay, and I just hope that more parents would teach their kids that when they see someone who looks different, they're still normal people inside and don't deserve any different treatment than if they looked normal.